almost at the top of Rozafa Castle here. And this valley, they told me that every winter, the Drin, which is the river you see here, which flows all the way from Zadrima, it bursts its banks and floods much of this land. And the people that live here, they mainly live on the second floor of their homes because the first floor is submerged. And the mosque below that you see that was built a couple of hundred years ago and has obviously been restored, the windows, the water is up to the windows normally. And it's been built in such a way, the walls constructed in such a way to protect it from the floodwaters. And this happens pretty much every year, they say. You've got to be pretty stubborn to continue living here. Welcome to Rozafa Castle. Behind me is Shkoder city and the Buna River, and over here beyond is the Drin. Now, Rozafa Castle has been here for 2,500 years. It was built by the Illyrians, the Labiat tribe. It stood here for centuries, but do you know how it got its name? Well, there were three brothers that originally built the castle, stone by stone, and every morning they would build it all day. But then when they came the next morning to continue the work, they found that the walls had been torn down, and they didn't know what to do. They were told that if one of you sacrifices your wife, puts her in the foundations of the castle, then you will be successful. Obviously, this was a bit of a difficult decision. They couldn't decide which wife to give up, which one to sacrifice for the greater good. So they came to an agreement. Whoever's wife comes first tomorrow with the lunch will be the one that we sacrifice. But they promised, we will not tell our wives about the plan. And they all made a promise and swore that they wouldn't tell their wives. However, two of the brothers broke the promise. They told their wives and they said, don't bring lunch tomorrow because you're going to end up walled up in a castle. But the third brother, he kept his promise, his better. And when his wife, Rozafa, turned up the next day with his lunch in her hands, he was heartbroken. She found out her fate, that she would have to be sacrificed to the castle, and she said, okay, you can put me in the foundations of the castle, but leave my right breast exposed so I can continue to feed my infant son. And so it was, and the castle was constructed and still stands today. Now, this legend of Rozafa is a little bit controversial. It represents the sacrifice of women, what women give for the greater good, for their children, for their families, for society, which in the modern day and age, you know, maybe we should be asking for a bit of equality and sacrifice in return. But this is history, this is legend. It's a very famous legend and story about this castle, which has played such a pivotal part in Albanian history, in Illyrian history, and the history of this glorious city. How do I look? I think I need a bigger size. Kan ju kapeli më të madh sepse ka kokën e madh. This is a pliz from the north of Albania, traditionally worn by men, but I quite like it. What do you think? Oh, and we have another one. Okay, është lesh. It's made from wool. I'm not sure if it's going to be good for this heat. What do you think? This one? So here we are in the entry yard, the courtyard, the first yard of Rozafa Castle. I mean, this castle dates back 2,500 years, but obviously over the years, it's been invaded, it's been destroyed. There was a big earthquake here. It's been rebuilt. So different parts of it are in different states of repair and from different eras as well. But much of the stonework here is so remarkably well preserved. Let's have a closer look. So here you can see the river Buna and the Shiroka neighborhood of Shkoder. Beyond it, Lake Shkoder that stretches all the way to Montenegro. Montenegro that was, you know, perhaps part of Albania once upon a time, but that's a whole different story. Don't climb on the walls. There we are, climbing on the walls. The Rozafa Castle has survived the Illyrian Empire, the Byzantine, the Ottoman, and a terrible communist regime. But it has persevered. It's remained in place, mainly due to the three brothers and the sacrifice of Rozafa. But it also reminded me of a quote by Edith Duram, who also traveled in these areas. And it was along the lines of, you know, empires rise and fall, but only the Albanian goes on forever. isn't this just the most beautiful place? Am I in Spain? No. Am I on a Greek island? No. Am I on the coast of southern Italy? No. This is Lake Shkoder in Albania. Over here is Montenegro. Over here is Malësia Imad, where I'll also be visiting. Behind me here is Koplik, and an area where they grow lavender and other medicinal herbs. And over yonder is Shkoder. Now, this particular place is called Zogaj. Now, Zogaj has quite a sad and difficult past. It's the last village that you pass through before you reach the border with Montenegro. Now, during the communist regime, Albania was closed. You couldn't leave the country. Anyone who tried to leave would be shot on the spot, and their family would be rounded up, placed into prison, put into internment, or even killed just for being related to someone who had tried to leave. It was that tough. Now, at the time, this wasn't Montenegro, this was Yugoslavia. And this town, this area, this whole mountain behind and before Shkoder was considered like a dangerous zone. It was too close to the border. People might sneak over the mountains in the dark of the night to try and escape Enver Hoxha's Albania. A lot of people tried to pass this lake either by swimming or with rafts, and they would have just been shot and killed on the spot. You know, others drowned trying to make the attempt. There are countless stories from communism of people who tried to escape via this lake and these mountains here, and who lost their lives and whose families suffered as a response. So it's a beautiful lake, but it has a sad story. It's a graveyard of sorts, you know. But this whole area would have been closed. People were not allowed to pass through here. And it was very difficult for the families that lived here as well. But even before then, before the borders of Albania were properly defined, there were Albanians living on the Montenegrin side. And they had family close by, you know, in the next village. But then the border was closed, communism started, Yugoslavia was a thing, and they were not allowed to see their families. And they were cut off for generations, you know, even brothers and sisters, mothers and children. They didn't see each other. Some of them never met again because they passed away before the borders were opened. Here in Zogaj, we've been invited to this woman's house, and here she weaves traditional Albanian carpets, çilims, on a loom in the old style, using wool and natural fibres. I'm going to go have a look at her work, and hopefully she'll give me an interview. In true Albanian hospitality style, we've been given a refreshment when we arrived. This is lung trendafil. It's juice made from rose petals. And this is exactly the kind of drink you need on a hot day. Si ka emrin, edhe për sa vit ti ka punun me cjerë?
Unë kam emrin nga një artuna, edhe kam 42 vjet vetëm me këtë punë që punoj. Kena punu në parti punës. Dhe më thamë, kam punu një 12 vjet, deri në 90-ën. Prej në 86-ën deri në 90-ën. 11 vjet, jo, në 80-ën deri në 90-ën. Fala. Atëherë u shpërba gjithçka. Kena punu me eksportin, dhe e dishim punën, por u shlu me vetëm tapeta. Atëherë në 90-ën fillu me bëme individuale. Fillu me mi bë këta. E pa me se fillu me pëlqy prap punën, kena bë të zit mall, që bëjme për masa më të mëdhaja. Atëherë punojmë rrugica, qëlly më të mëdhej, çanta, centro, si ti dojnë klienti. Dikur kena punu edhe me lule shumë, po të reja ti dojnë ma me pak lule, ma me ngjyra naturale. po jena të kënaqën. Jena të kënaqën. Tash sa është puna, nuk është mirë e kënaqën, por kur ke punën, prap, ndrysh. A di se vjen te puna, të pëlqen me punu, por nuk po dojnë breziri ma.
Sa fëmijë ka? Ti?
Una dy. Djale vajzë.
Edhe vajza ka interes për mësën?
Me mësu e ka mësu, por ja, nuk ka interes. Domethënë se kanë vazhdu shkollën.
A ju jeton në Shqipëri?
Po, në Shkoder.
Ka dëshirën për ikin jashtë Shqipëri?
Jo, djali po, vajza ja.
Aha, vajza.
Vajza jeton në Shkoder, po ka 3 fëmijë. I heri ka 2 vjeçel. Kjo ka vajzën e vogël.
Shpjegoj pak për procesin, për një qilim.
Për një kja është rrugicë.
Është rrugicë, po?
Po, janë rrugica që i shtrohen të shtrati, të u gjokë, gjithko i marrin për gjithë qa. Edhe ju pëlqejnë, se kjo është leshdelet 100%.
Po, është lesh?
Po, leshdelet.
është nga Shqipëria?
Po, nga Shqipëria.
Edhe ngjyrë është natyrale. Sa orë, sa ditë për një rrugicë, për shembull, 1.5 metra gjatë?
Do me thonë, individuale mundet me ba për 2-3 ditë një rrugicë.
2-3 ditë.
Ama të qyllymi vanoj.
Po,
një qyllym, 2 me 2 gjysë, bën 10 ditë 3 veta.
Po, është.
Sa është e vështirë, se nga që i punohet gjithë qa dhe me dorë. Sa shef që se punohet çdo gjë me dorë.
Edhe me vizatime.
Me vizatime, po vizatime, tash si janë vizatime, tana janë vizatime dhe nuk të lejen, domethënë po e kalove një fije ik bukuria modelit. Edhe çdo gjë është milimetrike.
Është shumë e vështirë.
Po, është e vështirë.
Okej, prit, edhe një pyetje tjetër.
Ashe se fillan e hindesh, e bën trekantshin.
Ku shitesh rrugica?
Aty, unë punoj edhe me porosi, por bashkia na ka mundësu me dalë në pedonale, reklam ma shumë, ku shpërndaj një numër telefonit, kontaktit që kam temin, edhe atëherë.
Po jashtë Shqipëri, ka interes nga diaspora?
Po, ka interes, ka shumë, diaspora jonë shumë.
Po.
Do më thonë, turisti merr një gjatë vogël krejt, por diaspora jonë i pëlqejnë edhe qilimat e mëdhej. Se i dojnë mi shtëru.
So we've arrived here at this aquatic centre. It's run by the Bashkir of Shkoder. And look, you can swim, you can go kayaking, you can use paddle boards, you can use a boat, you can go on a tour, you can just swim and enjoy this incredible blue water. You know, it's super hot. It's over 30 degrees today. I'm tired, I'm hot, I'm sunburned. I can't wait to dive in the water and have a good swim. So Lake Shkoder, it's actually the largest lake in the Balkans in Southeast Europe. It's about 530 square kilometers, but the size of it changes. So in the winter, it's bigger because the water comes from the rain, from the rivers, and then in the spring when all the snow in the Alps melts, it gets bigger, it floods some of the villages around, and of course Shkoder city as well. And then in the summer months, like now, the water level goes down. It's about 8 meters deep at its deepest point, so it's quite shallow in comparison to like Lake Ohrid. It's also a younger lake. It's a karst lake. Lake Ohrid is like millions of years old, whereas this is just thousands of years old in comparison. And it's great for swimming. It's a beautiful place, you know. But I remember I was here about 7 or 8 years ago, and some friends of mine had brought a paddleboard from England. And this one guy, he was really proud of his paddleboard, and he was sort of showing off with it. Look how good I am. And he went out into the lake, dropped the paddle, and then the current and the wind took him off towards Montenegro, and he couldn't get back. And he was sort of shouting for help, but he was too far away, and the Coast Guard came and 2 fishing boats went out and intercepted him and brought him back, and he soon stopped boasting about his paddleboard after that. Who knows what happened to the paddle? But look now, it's glorious. Kids jumping in, people relaxing. In the evening you can have a barbecue here. There's jet skis and boats and paddleboards and everything you could possibly want. So we're on the minibus again now, and we've just driven through Shiroka, which is also home to an area populated mainly by Roma families, and it's very, very poor. The sort of badly constructed stone houses with tin roofs, sort of almost layered on top of each other, children running around barefoot, and there's a real lack of investment in this area, and I feel that maybe this should be something that's addressed, by the government. I'm not saying clear them out and gentrify the area, but the standard of living there is not the same as it is in other areas. On a lighter note, I'm actually traveling with a group of foreign journalists. So there's some from Italy and there's some from the UK. And they were like, what's Shkoder like? And I said, well, it's known for three things: bicycles, culture, and good-looking men. Because I'd heard this saying, if you want a husband, you go to the north of Albania. If you want a wife, you go to the south. And they laughed. I haven't asked them what their verdict is yet. Maybe I'll wait till a bit later in the trip. Also, another thing to know about Shkoder is they speak a different dialect. So the Shkumbin River in central Albania splits the country into Geg and Tosk. Tosk is sort of the standard Albanian, which Enver Hoxha decided would be used by the entire country, and that is more of a southern dialect. Geg is used throughout the north, different versions of Geg, and also in Kosovo, North Macedonia, Montenegro as well, where there are Albanians. Geg is said to be the oldest version of the language. I think it's the most beautiful as well. It's the language that was used by Yogi Fishta, the great poet and writer. So here we don't say faleminderi, we say faleminers. So we've stopped in the hot region, which is about 40 minutes outside of Shkoder, and we're visiting a dairy. We're going to be trying out some cheese. I've been given these very stylish covers to put on my feet. It definitely smells like dairy around here. This is a really interesting place as well. It's a Catholic area. There's a huge white cross on the hill behind us. We'll get to learn more about that later, but for now, it's cheese time. Why are we putting these on, Dea?
Our heads.
Why?
Because to protect the cheese.
We don't want to get the cheese
All over.
dirty. Right, I've got to put this on as well, so I don't contaminate the cheese.
Hey, Bobby, why did you take this on?
Very stylish. Hold on. My head's a bit big for these things, though, unfortunately. It's not really, I need like 3, I think, 1 for each side, There we go. Does it suit me? Do I look like a good dairy farmer? Beautiful. Here we go. Cheesy time.
E ftofin, taja pasteurizohet qumshti. Pasteurizohet atje e kaldaja, edhe pasteurizohet aja, atje hedhim këtu edhe ftofin.
Sa litre është?
10 kintal.
Sa?
10 kintal.
10.000 litre qumshti.
1.000.
A 1.000. Aha.
1 kile.
Dhe pastaj çfarë është
Pastaj hedhim
procesi?
këto, e mushim këto forma. Edhe edhem këtu të presa, e presojmë.
Pa.
E presojmë të presa.
Dhe çfarë variant djath ka? Çfarë?
Djadh guda quhet.
Guda.
Po, teknolog holandes.
Pa.
Edhe me tana llojit e ndryshme, me ora, me boranicë, me susan,
Me boranicë?
zilok, me shumë, 2-3 modë boje këna. Rrijet
Shqitjen e Shqipëri apo jashtë vendi?
në Shqipëri.
Në Shqipëri. Edhe për sa muaj rri djath?
Për i muaj duhet se s'ban.
Aha.
Sa ma shumë qitrin, as ma mirë është.
Aha. Sa muaj është maksimumi?
Ka edhe 2 vite që kena.
2 vit?
Wow. Po.
Shumë mirë. Edhe proces është një familjar? Për bën djath, është një familja jote?
Kena
Apo vetëm
familja dhe kena 2-3 punëtorë.
për shumë brezi, domethënë?
Kena pas si tradit
Po.
në shtëpis, adin,
Atëherë kena vazhdua me teknolog holandes.
Shumë mirë.
Bëjmë kështu. Bëjmë. Kena bojt ndryshme. Kja është pikant.
Piccante,
Po, I kërkojnë shumë të format e vogla. Kja është me arra, kja me shërbel, kja pikant, kja me piper.
Piper.
Piper. Boronica.
Ah, ok. Questa?
Kja pikant.
Piccante, ok. Ah, il finale?
Pikant është, po është pa ato, lidh me pastë ushqimore. Marrim në Holland këtë pastë ushqimore. Në të mallojt këto.
Shumë bukur. Deja. Çfarë është Brenda kjo? Wow. Oh! Wow. O, shumë bukur, po sa shumë. Çfarë është kjo?
Ja, të çavallë.
Kaçkëva, u preferua shumë. Edhe kjo?
Janë forma.
Është kaçkaval për formën tjetër. Pa? Wow, ngjyrë shumë e bukur, blu, verd.
This is what they make it out.
Po të zez?
I want to eat this cheese.
Me boronicë, shumë mirë. Boronicë e egër? Po, nga afe. Aha, mirë. This place is amazing. Look at it, floor to ceiling cheese. And all of it is produced locally. They use milk from local cows and all the different colors. I mean, it's with boronice, with different fruits, with sage that is grown locally. You know, the berries come from the mountains. The sage is grown in the lowlands here. It's made here, it's processed here, it's aged here, it's packaged here, and then it's spread out and sold throughout all of Albania. I mean, there is so much cheese here. You could eat one of these, you know, every day for the next year, you know. Very pungent smell, very tangy smell, but I mean, they're just beautiful. Like the colors, the form, they're perfect. This woman's been making cheese for years. It's been in their family, you know, but with the advent of technology, they've been able to upscale and also standardize what they're making as well. This is the first time I've ever been to a cheese factory, and it's great. I just want to try some now, though. So now it's time to try some cheese. And I'm guessing from the little glass, we're going to be given rakia as well. So I've got my cheese, I've got diat me boronic. That was a big bite. And of course, to wash it all down, a little bit of raki rushi, grown from these grapes right behind me, gazuar. So what just happened here? She thought this was water and took a huge swig of it. This has happened to every Albanian at least once in their life. It was raki, wasn't it? How do you feel?